Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming here today. In particular, I would like to note that we are joined today by the Ontario Minister of Health, the Honourable Dr. Eric Hoskins. And, of course, the Mayor-elect of Toronto, our good friend, Mr. John Tory. I would also like to welcome those who are joining us today by webcast. My name is Alan Horn, Chairman of Rogers Communications, Inc. Now, you may be wondering why I'm here at the podium to welcome you to an event that is being hosted by University Health Network, Sick Kids, and the University of Toronto. I guess George Stropolopoulos wasn't available. Today I'm here in a different capacity as a longtime friend of Ted Rogers and the Rogers family. The Rogers family has a deep commitment to health, care, and education, and has had this for many years. Loretta Rogers sits on the board of directors of the Toronto General and Western Hospital Foundation. Lisa Rogers has been a leader of the family in these areas and in her local communities. Edward Rogers is a member of the board of directors for Sick Kids Foundation. Melinda Rogers is a member of the Governing Council at the University of Toronto, and Martha Rogers is a doctor of naturopathic medicine. Now, the invitation you received for this event told us that we are here today because three renowned Canadian institutions, the Hospital for Sick Children, the University Health Network, and the University of Toronto, have a plan to join together in a unique mission to transform and dramatically improve the future heart health for children, adults, and their families in Canada and around the world. It's an ambitious vision, but you'd expect nothing less, and one that the Rogers family has embraced, having lived through a very personal experience. Ted Rogers, for most of his latter years, fought a courageous battle with heart disease. So today, the Rogers family stands together with these institutions to share important and exciting news. News we know will help ease the burden that people and families have in dealing with this terrible disease, to ensure the promise of a healthy heart. And to do so, I would like to invite a great Canadian and our friend, Loretta Rogers, to come to the podium to make an important announcement.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us and taking time out of your busy day. Where am I now? Sorry. To join us here for an important announcement regarding healthcare in Canada. And I especially appreciate the presence of the Ontario Minister of Health, Dr. Eric Hoskins, and Mayor-elect John Tory. The Rogers family has been working for about 3 years on this major project. Our children, Lisa, Edward, Melinda, Martha, and I wanted to do something very meaningful in Ted's memory. And we finally, with the help and advice of many people, have been able to bring our ideas to fruition. So I would like to announce that we are making a donation to UHN, Sick Kids, and the U of T in the amount of $130 million. This donation is for the creation of the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research. And This will be matched by the 3 institutions, taking the total investment to $269 million. Heart failure took Ted from us when he was 75 years old. 1 million Canadians are living with heart failure today, and every year another 50,000 Canadians will get it. In the future, we want fewer Canadians to experience heart failure and to have those who do live much longer. Thank you all so much for coming today and learning about this exciting initiative.
Well, thank you, Loretta. This is truly a remarkable gift and a historic day for healthcare. We are delighted that the Honourable Dr. Eric Hoskins, Minister of Health and Long-Term Care for the Province of Ontario, is able to join us today for this exciting announcement. Dr. Hoskins, I welcome you to the stage to bring greetings on behalf of the Province of Ontario.
Wow. I was just saying to Loretta, did you hear the gasp from the crowd when you mentioned that number? I think that's about half of the Ontario healthcare budget. But, Loretta, congratulations. The entire Rogers family. Spectacular announcement. And your generosity, I think for those of us who know the Rogers family, it's not surprising to see this example of their generosity, but the size and scope of this contribution is unprecedented. So on behalf of Premier Kathleen Wynne and the Government of Ontario, I'm so proud, I'm so honored to be here for this announcement this morning. And in addition to thanking the Rogers family and Loretta, it's also important, as we've heard, to thank Sick Kids and University Health Network and the University of Toronto for their very, very significant contribution matching the donation that's made by the Rogers family here today. So on behalf of the people of Ontario, I'd like to thank you, but really this historic donation will change the lives of people living throughout this city, this province, this country, and the world. It's a testament not only to the generosity of the Rogers family and of the institutions who are contributing today, but to the thriving medical research that is going on right here. The kind of activity that has made Ontario one of the world's most exciting centers of life-saving, world-changing healthcare and biomedical research. With this contribution, not only will you advance the cause of better care, research, and innovation, you will invest in the next generation of scientists, doctors, and researchers who will propel us even further. And there's something truly inspiring about this donation today and the research and care that it will support. Medical research of this kind asks us to imagine a better future. It is the bridge between life-threatening and life-changing treatments, or even a cure. In other words, it gives us hope. Hope for a healthier tomorrow. And that is a wonderful gift. And Loretta, for your late husband, Ted, it is a beautiful legacy. And so thank you on behalf of the people of Ontario and the untold people around the world whose lives will change because of this investment today. With this historic gift, they too are a part of Ted Rogers' legacy. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Minister Hoskins. The Rogers family is thrilled to be able to bring the Ted Rogers Centre for Heart Research to life. It's a testament to Ted's drive for innovation, collaboration, and ambitious goals, and his commitment and his family's desire to leave the world a better place. Now, I can tell you that there are many people coming together to make the great work of the Centre happen, starting with 33 scientists and clinicians who are already working with us, as there is no time to waste. And outstanding professionals to fill key roles have already been identified. While we will undertake a global search for an executive director, I'm pleased to announce that the Centre's President's Steering Committee has chosen the Centre's interim executive director, who will lead the Ted Rogers Research Centre for Heart Research. I am pleased to announce that the interim director is Dr. Mansoor Hussain. Now, Dr. Hussain is the director of Toronto General Research Institute and the MacEwan Centre for Regenerative Medicine at the University Health Network. Today, Dr. Hussain is presenting at an international medical conference and hopefully promoting the Ted Rogers Centre, given that it's after 10:30, and so is not able to be here. But I know I speak for the family when I say we are very excited to have him at the helm for the launch of this centre. Additionally, I would like to announce the 3 scientific leads from each of the partner institutions. The scientific leads for the Hospital for Sick Children will be Dr. Seema Mittal and Dr. Ronnie Cohen. The scientific lead for the University of Toronto will be Dr. Peter Zandstra. And last, but by no means least, for the University Health Network, our great friend, Dr. Heather Ross. Our congratulations to each of these remarkable individuals whose stellar careers and incredible experience will lay a solid foundation for the Centre. So there you are, Drs. Hussain, Mittal, Cohen, Zandstra, and Ross. Ladies and gentlemen, a truly cardiac dream team. So eat your heart out, Paul Beeston. Yeah. Another individual who we've come to know well and who will most certainly leave his mark on the work of the Ted Rogers Centre for Heart Research is Dr. Barry Rubin, Chair and Program Medical Director of the Peter Munk Cardiac Centre at the University Health Network. I'd like to invite Dr. Rubin to come to the podium to tell us more about the University Health Network's role at the Ted Rogers Centre for Heart Research.
Thanks very much, Alan. Loretta, Edward, Martha, on behalf of the University Health Network, the Hospital for Sick Children, on behalf of the healthcare providers, scientists, and engineers across our 3 institutions, and on behalf of all Canadians, I extend our genuine and sincere thanks for helping us to reach this stage and to end heart disease. We appreciate the deep personal significance of your investment in this vision and are thrilled to join you today in launching the Ted Rogers Centre for Heart Research. Together, we will deliver the promise of a healthy heart. Your gift of $130 million, the most significant of its kind to a healthcare initiative in Canadian history, is without question going to change the lives of patients, their families, and in Canada and around the world. Your generosity will fuel a vision that we previously could only have dreamed of. Incredible advances in heart health have been made in the past decade. Breakthroughs in genomic medicine, stem cell therapies, smaller and smaller heart pumps, heart surgery with no incisions at all, and advances in information technology have all changed the way that we care for patients today with heart disease. Your transformational gift will promote an environment of discovery and innovation in which experts from SickKids, the University of Toronto, the MacEwan Centre for Regenerative Medicine, and the Peter Munk Cardiac Centre at University Health Network will work together to develop new approaches that will redefine the ways that we prevent and treat heart disease in the 21st century. As Loretta said, 1 million Canadians are living with heart failure today, and that number is projected to increase by 25% in the next 20 years. The average survival of a patient with heart failure is only 2 years. It does not have to be this way. Ted Rogers led the development of the telecommunications industry through a constant focus on innovation. Loretta, Martha, Edward, my colleagues and I commit to you that we will work together and use Ted Rogers' approach of focusing on innovation to change the face of heart disease. The Ted Rogers Centre for Heart Research will be the first in the world to address heart failure across a patient's entire lifespan, from childhood through their senior years. Together, we will push the boundaries of scientific discovery. We will challenge the next generation of heart specialists and healthcare innovators to think beyond what is currently possible, to establish a new landscape for heart health. Through exceptional clinical care driven by world-leading research, we will change the lives of our patients and their families forever. At UHN, your support will help us create the Ted Rogers Comprehensive Heart Function Program. This program will translate research discoveries that will be made at SickKids, the University of Toronto, and UHN into the delivery of care for patients living with heart disease, and will use state-of-the-art technologies to develop and improve quality of life and reduce hospital readmissions for patients with heart failure, a major challenge in healthcare in Ontario today. We will use Bluetooth-enabled smart technologies that tell us how patients are doing at home. Your smart scales will tell us if you're gaining weight, which can happen as an early sign of heart failure. And smart blood pressure cuffs will transmit information directly to clinicians' offices. In short, we'll know something's wrong before you know something's wrong. And that will give us the ability to intervene early, optimize therapy, and minimize the need for patients to actually be admitted to hospital. Your support will enable the creation of the Ted Rogers Program for the prevention of cardiac toxicity at University Health Network. In this program, teams of physicians and nurses will manage patients that develop heart disease as a complication of other therapies. Now, this can happen in cases after certain chemotherapy drugs, radiation toxicity, or after treatment for things like connective tissue diseases and diabetes. There's no center in the world that is currently focusing on this type of work. We will advance knowledge of the ways heart disease develops and measure how effectively you're treating patients through the appointment of an incredible 4 new Ted Rogers chairs in heart research. These world-leading researchers will examine the quality of care that we provide, our impact on heart function outcomes, new approaches to the treatment of patients with congenital heart disease, and the biology of heart failure. And this is especially important for children born with heart disease when they transition from SickKids to UHN, which happens 600 times a year. Your gift will support the development of a biobank that will allow us to store biological samples on all 55,000 patients that we see in the Peter Munk Cardiac Centre every year. And your support will allow us to obtain a new electronic medical record that will let us integrate patients' clinical, genomic, and imaging information. This will increase our understanding of how heart disease develops and will set the foundation for the discovery of new therapies and new treatments for heart disease. Literally, nothing like this exists in the world today. This is not science fiction. This is fact. With the support of the Rogers Foundation, the clinicians and scientists at UHN, the University of Toronto, and SickKids will set the global standard of care for patients with heart disease for generations to come. The Rogers family and the 3 institutions know that the Ted Rogers Centre for Heart Research would not have been realized without the vision and guidance of Ted Rogers' friend, advisor, and physician, Dr. Bernie Gossovitz. Bernie. Thank you, Bernie. Thank you for your unyielding efforts in this significant project. It just wouldn't have happened without you. Ted Rogers used to say, "The best is yet to come." Through collaboration, the unyielding pursuit of innovation, and a shared vision, the Ted Rogers Centre for Heart Research will allow patients with heart disease to say the same thing in the future. The best is yet to come. I know my sorry. Not used to people clapping when I talk. I know my colleague, Dr. Michael Apcon, would agree with me. Michael is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Hospital for Sick Children. I'd like to invite Michael to the podium to say a few words on behalf of Sick Kids. Michael?
Thank you, Barry. I've been here in my role as President and CEO of Sick Kids for just under a year. And upon my arrival, one of the very first things I was briefed on was an emerging, leading-edge collaboration among Sick Kids, UHN, and the University of Toronto. An initiative that promised to change the way we're able to discover, educate, and care for heart patients no matter their age. It's the kind of undertaking that most of us that have been working from the bench to the bedside can only really dream about being a part of during their career. But here we stand today, and that dream is now an emerging reality. And the single innovative spark that makes this remarkable endeavor possible is the Rogers family's extraordinary and very generous commitment to establish the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research. For that, we're extremely grateful. On behalf of the Board of the Trustees for the Hospital for Sick Children, our staff, the clinicians and researchers who dedicate themselves tirelessly to the pursuit of excellence in pediatric care, and of course, our patients and their families, thank you. Dr. Rubin talked about so many of the exciting translational elements that the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research will drive. Exciting because we're not talking about things that will take place 20 years or more from now, but things that can begin to happen in the patient care setting in really the next 2 or 3 years, and that's really remarkable. Sick Kids' specific contribution to the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research will be in the area of individualized genomic medicine. Genetic medicine provides us with a promising and vast new frontier in which to discover, diagnose, and ultimately treat heart failure. In recent years, since the formal completion of the Human Genome Project, there's been an explosion of knowledge in human genetics. Our understanding has been transformed, and revolutionary advances in technology now enable us to identify, decode, and analyze DNA. With what we know today, and with the invaluable support from the Rogers family, we will be able to create the Ted Rogers Personalized Genomic Medicine Program. The program will support the world's first pediatric and adult genome clinics. The cutting-edge clinics will provide individualized treatments for adults and children based on their genetic profile with specific focus on heart failure. Our scientists will harness the power of genomic science to decode the genetic foundations of heart disease. And our goal in pulling all this apart to understand it at its very roots is to predict heart disease before it even occurs. We will be able to do things unheard of just 2 decades ago. Our purpose will be to develop individualized, or shall I say, custom therapies for children and adults based on a patient's unique genome. Our team of bioinformaticians, health economists, ethicists, geneticists, and genetic counselors will address the many challenges that are part of genetic medicine. Through the generosity of the Rogers family, we will be able to develop bioinformatics tools that will enable us to look at the genetic variants in a clinical setting. We'll find genes at the root of heart disease. Learning, knowing, and understanding will also help us to build a new stage for health policy in Canada. We will drive new models of care, and we'll shift the impact of patient preference and the ethics of consent. Leading the work at Sick Kids, building on our bench strength in systems biology, will be 2 chairs, one in translational genomics and the other in cardiac genetics. Together, we will find new screens for novel therapeutic interventions in congenital heart disease, and we will seek to stop heart disease before it ever starts. It is at times overwhelming to think about what's now possible. We're able to deliver the right measures at the right time to individuals and who are ready, willing, and able to take an exponential leap into the next era in health discovery. Equally as exciting is the connectivity across the partners who share the vision for the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research. SickKids' leadership in individualized genomic medicine is the stepping stone to the University of Toronto's focus on regenerative medicine, approaches that will ultimately find their way into clinical practice. Right here in Toronto, we'll be at the vanguard of genomics research, focused on heart health. I know my colleague, Professor Merrick Gertler, president of the University of Toronto, would agree. It's both an incredibly exciting and a very humbling time. This is a new era that is born from the generosity of a family who themselves are pioneers. To the Rogers family, you have our unparalleled thanks. Merrick, I'd invite you to the podium to say a few words on behalf of the University of Toronto. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We just can't stop smiling. Ted Rogers once said, "There are always lots of opportunities if you persevere and aren't afraid to take chances. But the important thing is that you have to work very hard and take some risks." Well, given the number of people affected by heart disease in Canada and around the world, as you've just heard, we need to take Ted Rogers' advice. Thankfully, the partnership that we're announcing today includes researchers and clinicians who are ready to open a new scientific horizon. We are willing to challenge each other and eager to work together collaboratively. And we have the support and the leadership of the Rogers family, inspired by Ted Rogers, whose vision has gathered us and whose commitment will enable us to succeed. The generosity and the magnitude of this gift and the transformational effect it will have on heart research reflects the pioneering, innovative spirit of Ted Rogers and his family. And the partnership it has made possible will have a truly global impact. Together, UHN, SickKids, and U of T will accelerate discovery and innovation in cardiac care to unprecedented levels, preventing illness, improving health, and saving lives. And so on behalf of the University of Toronto, I offer our deepest thanks to the Rogers family for making all of this possible. The truly vital work of the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research will unfold at several sites in Toronto's Discovery District along University Avenue. This brilliant network of research hospitals, health institutes, incubators, and the University of Toronto is one of the largest and most productive health sciences clusters in the world. And the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research will leverage the extraordinary creativity of this network of talent and propel our clinicians and scientists to even greater heights of collaboration, productivity, and impact. UHN, SickKids, and U of T bring to this great mission global excellence in biomedical research, advanced education, and clinical innovation. Each is recognized around the world for outstanding leadership, governance, and best practices. And each contributes its own unique expertise. But together, we are greater than the sum of our parts, and we have a record of success in collaborating with each other. Never before have we come together with such a singular focus to work toward the elimination of heart failure. But looking at the talent involved and the determination we share, and with the Rogers family as our inspiration, we have every reason to move forward with confidence. My colleagues have already shared with you some of the incredible work that will be done under the banner of the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research. Let me tell you a little bit about what will be happening at U of T. Our focus will be translational biology and engineering. U of T will combine stem cell technology with novel approaches in cellular and tissue engineering for the regeneration of heart muscle, coronary vessels, and heart valves. This cutting-edge science, which is crucial to restoring damaged hearts, will be led by U of T's Institute for Biomaterials and Biomedical Engineering, one of the many fields in which we are recognized as world leaders. U of T researchers will also contribute to our understanding of how genetic, molecular signaling, and cellular networks function as the heart develops. Alongside our partners at UHN and SickKids, we will probe how these networks can be modified using new drug and biologic therapies. And what we learn will open up new possibilities for more effective heart therapies for children and adults. U of T scientists will also create technologies and tools to improve heart physiology monitoring in clinical settings and for patients at home. And as a result, we will be better able to provide seamless, integrated patient care. Leading this exciting new platform of discovery will be 2 new chairs in immunobioengineering and in cardiac tissue and cellular systems modeling. These chairs will be situated at U of T's Institute for Biomaterials and Biomedical Engineering and cross-appointed at UHN's McEwen Center for Regenerative Medicine. The Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research will also support the development of technologies with strong translational potential, building an efficient, sustainable healthcare system aimed at constant improvements in patient care requires a relentless dedication to innovation and a culture designed to foster new ideas, discoveries, and breakthroughs. So the Ted Rogers Innovation Fund, also created through the Rogers family's landmark gift, will play a crucial role in building that culture. It will enable researchers from across our institutions to attract additional support and momentum to move their innovations into the clinical and commercial spheres. Ultimately, these innovations will benefit hundreds of thousands of people living with heart disease. The Rogers family's visionary gift will also create the Ted Rogers Education Fund. This will help us attract the brightest undergraduate and graduate students from across Canada and around the world, as well as postgraduate clinical and research fellows. This key strategic investment will ensure that Canada has a deep pool of world-leading talent in cardiovascular research and innovation for generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, the great partnership launched today will change and save countless lives. The Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research will help enable more people, adults and children, here and around the world to live long, healthy, and happy lives. The University of Toronto is grateful. Our partners are grateful, but all Canadians and all those who will benefit from the breakthrough this center represents, we all owe a great debt of gratitude to the Rogers family for giving us this monumental reason to hope. And so I'd like to conclude by thanking them again for their historic act of philanthropy and for the promise of a healthy heart. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Professor Gertler and Drs. Appon and Rubin. Collaboration. Now, I have a friend who is known to say that it really is amazing what remarkable things you can achieve when you don't care who gets the credit. And I think this will be key to this collaboration here. The incredible innovation and vision the partner institutions have planned for the Ted Rogers Centre for Heart Research is nothing short of remarkable. It will reinforce Canada's leading position in cardiac health and set the country apart in terms of global leadership in battling one of the most challenging diseases of our time. I know I speak for the Rogers family when I say that we're so pleased to be able to share in and support the vision of the centre that will bear Ted Rogers' name. Ted Rogers and the words pioneer and innovation often appear in the same sentence. Now, in fairness, some other words often appear in the same sentence as well, but that's for another day. That is why the Ted Rogers Centre for Heart Research is such an appropriate acknowledgement of Ted's commitment to excellence, to healthcare, and to Canada. The Rogers family and all of us here today feel passionately about our commitments to these fine institutions and are immeasurably proud of the work they do. I'd now like to introduce Martha Rogers, Chair of the Rogers Foundation, to say a few words. Martha?
Hi, everyone. I wanted to give a little background, not on what we're doing, but more on why we're doing it. Obviously, it's for our father, Ted. One of his favorite things that he could think of doing is to try and explore different ways on how you can give back. When he was younger, he would give what he could. He didn't have very much. He would start with a scholarship at U of T for $200 a year. As he made more, he increased that. But the family got together and did this gift because last year was his 80th birthday. We had obviously meant to get everything together by last year, but getting all the partnerships on side is not the easiest thing in the world, but we did it. So that's one of the best things. Another thing I wanted to mention is, as you know, when Ted was ill, he was down in the Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic for a bit. And one thing that we noticed down there is that the vast majority, like 1 in every 2 people, every doctor, every nurse was a Canadian. And he spoke a lot at that time about wanting to bring this back to Canada and wanting to invest because we have some of the most spectacular doctors and researchers and nurses that this continent has seen. We discovered the stem cell in Toronto. The very first human beating heart made from skin cells was in Toronto. Insulin is Canadian. I always wanted, insulin. So this is how the whole dream came together. And it may have been long, but we eventually got here. But I also wanted to call out 2 very specific people. Without this, it wouldn't have been possible. Without them, we wouldn't have even had my father for the last couple of years that he was alive. And I'm sorry to do this because you don't know I am, but if I could ask you both to stand up, Dr. Heather Ross and Dr. Bernie Gosevich. Thank you both, and this gift would not be possible without either one of them. You have lots more people speaking, so I don't want to take your time, but I just want to say how excited we are that this day is finally here. We've been working on it for years, and I wish Ted could see it, but I know he's here, and I'm so excited that we now can bring everything back to Canada, because Toronto is a spectacular city, and this country is phenomenal, and one of the biggest secrets of it is that he was the biggest patriot around. So thank you for coming today. Thank you for celebrating with us. Talk to you later.
So thank you, Martha. I'd now like to invite Edward Rogers to the stage to share more about the reasons he and his family chose to make this donation and the impact we are certain that Ted Rogers Centre for Heart Research will have both now and in the long term. Edward?
Alan, thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. I'd like to also welcome the Ontario Minister of Health, Dr. Eric Hodgkins. We're honored that you would come. I'd also like to thank Mayor-elect John Tory for coming. John and our family have known each other for many years. And John was where I personally saw how a person has a busy life, but also spends a good portion of that life giving back, which John has done his entire life, never for the public to see, but because it was in his heart, and he taught me a lot of things. So John, thank you very much. My dad had a good amount of interaction with these 3 institutions himself and our family. The Hospital for Sick Kids, it was actually Martha's and my great-great-grandfather, Samuel, who, with another gentleman, raised a lot of money that built the first sick kids hospital right here on College Street. My father was a proud member of the U of T for many years, unfortunately with a few challenges, a few more years than originally planned. But he loved his time there, and he gave money generously there in his father's honor as well. And UHN has taken care of our family for many years and was with my father and helped my father through the end of his life, and for that we're very grateful. I learned a lot of great things in the speeches today about what the three institutions are doing. I loved absolutely all of it, except for this so-called smart scale that will, which will now tell other people when I've gained weight, which is going to be great. Thank you. As my mother said, we've been working on this for many years. As a family, we came to consensus about how we thought to put some money to work to honor Ted. And there was always a unified vision and a common vision about what we should do. I thank my mother for her leadership, her support of this, and for leading our family. Thank you, Mother. Martha Rogers is chair of the Rogers Foundation and leader to our family in many of the initiatives that we're doing. She was an early, big supporter of this project. When you speak to her on this or anything, she can bring out the best passion in a person, and I thank Martha for everything that she's done on this. My sister Melinda is not here with us, and she wished she could have been. She was an early kind of person that focused on not just giving money and making a gift, but continuing to work with the Hospital for Sick Kids, with U of T and with UHN to make sure that this money is going to work and that we're realizing the benefits of what we're trying to do. My sister Lisa is also sad she couldn't be here, but wanted to send her love and support. And as was said, Lisa is a person that not only gives of her money, but spends a lot of her time helping out. And I think in our family, we've all learned a great deal from Lisa. As was mentioned, the family came up with a concept with Sick Kids in U of T and UHN, and we wanted to turn that into a tangible plan. And we turned to our friend and our colleague, Alan Horn. Alan is the chair of our companies. He runs our private companies. He was CFO of RCI for a period of time. He worked very closely with Ted for many, many years, and he's the person I today work closest with. He put together a great team of Chris Wansborough, who's chair of our private companies, and was also on our board for many years. John Anderton and Bob Reeves from the private companies, the gentlemen who I say do most of the work. And David Steele from Tories. And this team turned a vision into a plan, something that we can invest in and be excited about. And I thank all of you for all the great work you've done the last year. Thank you very much. We also appreciate the support from Toby Hall, David Robinson, and Ann Graham. It has been mentioned, but I'll repeat it. We also thank Bernie Gosevich. Bernie, as Martha said, definitely allowed our father to be here longer with all the great work that he did with Ted. He was mainly his friend. And he's continued to inspire the family and work with the family and be a great part of what we're doing here today. So we thank him very much. Dr. Heather Ross is also an inspiration to the family, as was mentioned. She helped Ted at the very end of his life, and she's been doing research in heart health under Ted's name for the last couple of years. And her passion and the results she's gotten inspired us to look at this greater project and to do far more. Thank you, Dr. Ross. We have a great deal of respect for UHN, U of T, and the Hospital for Sick Kids. They are three different institutions that all do fabulous work, but generally do different work. And when we asked for a plan, the three institutions came and created one plan with one vision, and remarked as an incredible team. And I think a project of this scale is something that is special, and I don't think that has been done. They also came forward with an amazing amount of matching gifts that allowed this project to be far more than what the Rogers family could have done by themselves. So I immensely thank the University of Toronto, UHN, and the Hospital for Sick Kids for their matching gifts and for everything that they've done on this project. Thank you. Ted always wanted to make a difference for his 75 years. He was a man who had a huge heart. He was a son, a brother, a student, a boxer when he was young, a great father, a great husband, an accomplished businessman, and someone who gave back to the areas that he lived. He built his company to endure long after he left. When his father died in 1938, he was only 5. The companies were sold, and the Rogers brand and name was gone. And that haunted my father and drove him for his entire life. And as I said, he wanted to build a business that could last far longer than him, that would honor his great work and his father's great work. And I think we've accomplished this. This is the same approach we've taken with the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research. This gift is not an end, it is merely a start. This investment in heart health will hopefully make the future brighter for the Canadians that have heart disease today, but give greater hope in the future for many generations of Canadians to have a brighter heart future. Ted was a results-oriented manager. He pushed us to achieve more, and we did. His persistence and passion made our company go farther than he ever thought possible and my mother ever thought possible. It's that same focus and passion that we have here. Success for us is not in making the investment and spending the money. It will only be successful when we can show improvements to as many Canadians afflicted with heart failure as possible. Ted loved life very much. He had 75 years. His father only had 38, and he thought he wouldn't have a long life. But he would have liked more. And so our hope is that this gift will enable many Canadians to get a few more great years and quality years. And we know Ted would have wanted that as well. As Martha had said and others have said, Ted and his father were patriots. My grandfather created the AC tube, which allowed large radios to plug into the electrical current during the 30s. He built radios that did that, so you wouldn't have this acid from batteries that would leak on the floor or hum from the battery. And he ran ads in the 1930s apologizing that we couldn't make enough radios for customers at the time when a lot of Canadians couldn't find work. And he had offers from people to say, let's move to the US, get serious, and make this company great. And his answer was, this company is great, it's in Canada, and it will be every bit as good. My father started his business here and moved in with Philip Lynn to cable in the U.S. during the 80s. And at one point was one of the larger U.S. public cable companies. But he sold that business, took every penny and several billion more borrowed from the banks and invested in wireless back in Canada. My father always thought that Canada could not only stand amongst the giants of the world in anything that we wanted to do. He never bought into the notion that there was too few of us, that there was too much land to cover, or we didn't have the passion and drive. Canada has shown time and time again that this to be true. The Rogers family believes this especially true for health care. We know that the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Health will not just be a Canadian leader, but a worldwide leader in heart research. It will stand beside other beacons of heart research as an equal partner. We already have attracted the very top talent to give us a running start, as Alan Horn has said. And I know that we will attract the very best men and women from across Canada and across the globe. In closing, our family has the full confidence and trust in the men and women who will lead the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research and the men and women who make up the University of Toronto, UHN, and the Hospital for Sick Kids to come together to realize the potential of this gift to make a substantial difference in heart health for Canadians in the future and to keep Ted's vision and Ted's name alive in the future. Thank you all very much for coming.
Charlotte, and I had 3 surgeries to fix my heart before I was 3.
Charlotte was diagnosed with hypoplastic right heart syndrome, and that is essentially half a heart.
Like Charlotte, I was born with heart issues. I was only supposed to live until my early 20s. You know, it was difficult because you would watch from the sidelines as everybody else played.
Heart failure doesn't care if you're 2 or 20 or 80. The average life expectancy after a diagnosis of heart failure is still only 2.1 years.
At the same time, it's a lot of burden on the families. We cannot guarantee their child is going to live to be an adult.
The problem is too complex for one lab or for only one researcher to solve. The Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research will bring together basic scientists, engineers, and clinicians who will all work together to cure heart disease.
You have to have collaborations with people outside of your own sphere of expertise, because different people bring different ideas, different perspectives, and different experiences to the table.
This initiative will bring together all the great minds from around the world to Toronto in one place so we can work together on advancing therapies for heart disease.
I think everything will move quicker. I think everything will have greater impact sooner through this collaboration.
We can explore the genetic underpinning, the mechanisms of what goes wrong in heart function. And that's going to lead, first of all, to the new genetic diagnostic tools.
We are developing methods to build a living human heart tissue in the lab that can be used as a model for drug discovery or for therapy one day.
It will give us the capacity to study a large number of children and adults with heart disease.
And I see that as a real opportunity to move our research from the bench to the bedside.
There actually aren't adjectives that are adequate to describe the impact a gift of this nature will have.
The 3 institutions together have the opportunity to really change the way patients with heart disease, and specifically heart failure, are managed. And that's part of the legacy that I think the Rogers family can really be proud of.
Ted Rogers was a pioneer his whole life. He always looked to the future. This center is a testament to Ted's vision and to his passionate interest in treating heart disease and giving back to the community.
I don't think there's any question the Rogers Center, the legacy, will have global impact. I would like to personally thank the Rogers family for their amazing donation to the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research.
We're incredibly appreciative, incredibly thankful, and incredibly hopeful.
You know, when I was younger, I was told that I possibly wouldn't live to see my 25th or 30th birthday. I'm turning 50 this summer.
One day in the future, I hope to be able to tell the parents of my patients that they don't have to worry about losing their child.
It was hard going through what I went through. I know it made my parents worry, and I don't want any other person's parents going through what my parents went through.
This collaboration will bring together the best minds that are doing research in heart disease.
My passion is to see my research come to life and help patients.
We're bigger than the sum of our parts.
The Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research is going to lead to a future of people with healthy hearts.
This is the promise
of a healthy heart.
Well, Loretta and members of the Rogers family, Martha, Edward, Suzanne, and of course those that are absent and the younger members of the next generation of the Rogers family, I am very honored to be here this morning, as I think we all are. Now, in my case, I can't yet sort of bring official thanks on behalf of the community, but there's some good news in that it also meant that the good news part of it is that it meant this morning when I woke up and heard on 680 News, a Rogers property, the question being asked, who is to blame for that snow and traffic fiasco yesterday? I could say, for another 10 days, not me. So this is good. But I was honored to be asked to say a few words of thanks on behalf of the community and perhaps to provide some encouragement to people in this room and beyond in terms of what this gift can mean. And it's an incredible gift, as has been spoken so eloquently about by those who preceded me on the platform today. And I think all of the words that have been spoken by me and by everybody else are inadequate in terms of expressing our thanks when something as generous as this happens. But I think what the family would want me to say beyond what they said is that they hope beyond what the good is that the gift is going to do to help people with heart disease, that it is also going to encourage a lot of other people to step up and do something themselves, giving of their money or of their time. Oftentimes, I think we all know this, that people will be inclined to think when they see a huge gift like this, well, I can't do anything like that, I can't really help. But in this room, I think many people in this room also know that these are pioneer gifts, these are leadership gifts, and that what they do is they do in fact inspire an awful lot of other people to step up and do something, whether it's with a more modest amount of money or with their time, which of course is the most valuable thing that any of us can give. And that is in fact the magic of transformational gifts like this. Yes, it is a lot of money in and of itself, and it will attract good people to do wonderful things, and it will attract, as it already has done, money from these three great institutions that are going to benefit from this generosity today. But I think the Rogers family would be very happy if I said, and I think that everybody in this room, because you're here, because you are in one way or another an activist in helping to build a better country and a better city, to say that hopefully it will inspire many, many other people to decide they should do something, whether it's for these three institutions or for HEART or for almost anything else that matters in terms of trying to build the kind of country that we are trying to build together. The Rogers family has said today, yes, we are going to have the very best for each other here in terms of medical care. Yes, we're going to do something about it because we care for each other and care about the city. And now I think it turns to us to do something. And I think that is, in fact, the best way we as a community can say thank you to the Rogers family for what they have done today, which is to get involved ourselves, to give of our time, to give of our money as we're able to do, to make sure that we can make this a better place. I want to just conclude my own remarks by saying a personal word to the Rogers family, to Loretta and to the next generations that are represented here today. I can say because I know, and many of the people who spoke here today could as well have said so, how proud Ted would be of what happened here today and what is happening here today. He showed early on himself, as Edward mentioned, I think it was Martha actually that mentioned it, how important he thought giving back was when he created a tiny scholarship, I think when he was he graduated himself. And it stayed there as a tiny scholarship for a long time, and then he contributed and contributed and contributed more and more and more. And today there are dozens and dozens of scholarships, even beyond what's been announced today, that are given in his name. And he kept doing this over and over again, often sight unseen, often sight unseen. And you today have carried that legacy forward. And I think that's what he'd be so proud and so happy about, and I'm sure he is watching today. You have reinforced that value that I know is important to him and that is so much a part of your entire family. And for that, I think this entire community and this entire country thanks you. And I know that Ted is saying thank you as well today for carrying forward that value and for remaining true to the values that were so much a part of his entire life. Ted was my client and my boss, my mentor, my political comrade. Yes, he actually encouraged me to keep doing this. But most importantly, he was my friend. And when people write him up, they write up more about the business stories about Ted, and he was a challenge to work for, I can assure you, as Alan and Edward and others, many others in this room could confirm. But you know, it is so fitting that what is being done today is something about heart. And it isn't just about the fact that in his own case, heart failure took him much sooner than he should have been taken. It's the fact that Ted Rogers did everything he did. And it was the magnificent brain at work, which was magnificent to behold in terms of things that he would think of and ideas that he'd have. But I think what really caused him to be the success that he was in every respect was heart. he just put his heart into everything he did, and you know the difference between people who are smart and do things and people who put their heart into it. And I think in the end it may be that just the fact he was using his heart not just for a living, as we all do, but for so many other things, maybe it just wore out a lot sooner than it should have. But I think today, to be here celebrating something the family's doing in his honor that is so extraordinary for Hart is so fitting. And so I say to the members of the Rogers family, on behalf of all of us who live here and who will benefit from this extraordinary act of generosity, as will people around the world and as will future generations, thank you, Loretta, Lisa, Edward, Melinda, and Martha, and the whole family for what you have done and for what you no doubt will continue to do. Thank you.
Well, thank you, John. And on behalf of all the people of Toronto, we wish you great success in addressing the challenges and the opportunities in your new office over the next few years. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I close, these events don't happen by themselves, so I'd like to pay thanks here to all the people who've been involved in putting on this event today. I think the video was certainly one that caused a few tears around our office, and I'm sure it did around here as well. They did a great job. I asked if the family who were involved in the video were going to be here today, and I was told that they couldn't because they're on vacation in Florida, which I think is just a great result, from it. Any case. The other people I'd like to just acknowledge are the people who work in the development groups and the institutions. In this case, David Palmer from the University of Toronto, Ted Garand from Sick Kids, and Tennis Hansen from UHN. They were a great help, a great support. They were with us every step of the way, and I'd like to pay my thanks to them here. Now, we should just let you know that tennis, we've actually renamed you at Rogers Tenacity Hansen. Yeah. So if you get a call from tennis, you know what to expect. Any case, so ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the program this morning. There are refreshments and some snacks available in the foyer. I'm assured they're all heart healthy. So please feel free to join us there. So the Ted Rogers Centre for Heart Research is officially launched. Thanks once again to Loretta and the Rogers family for this amazing gift.